Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. I am incredibly pumped for this one because we are doing something a little bit different today. Usually we take a topic, we strip it down and we look at the nuts and bolts. But today we are doing a bit of time travel.
We are.
We are going back to a moment that feels like ancient history, yet somehow it explains so much about the current cultural landscape.
It really does. It's funny because when you first proposed this topic, I thought, really? We're going there.
Right.
But once you start peeling back the layers of the source material, you realize this isn't just celebrity gossip. It's a case study in accountability, in public shame, and in how we the people we watch process trauma.
Exactly. We are talking about the year 2012. We are talking about the absolute zenith of Twilight mania.
Oh, the peak.
And specifically, we're talking about the scandal that broke the hearts of millions of teenagers and apparently a future president. We are diving deep into the Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, and Rupert Sanders cheating scandal.
But we aren't just reading the tabloid. The core of our deep dive today comes from a really fascinating and quite biting analysis from the Pop Culture Crisis channel.
Yes.
They put out a discussion titled, Kristen Stewart Refuses to Take Accountability After Robert Pattinson Cheating Scandal.
And let me tell you, refuses to take accountability is putting it mildly, according to their take. They go in.
They really do.
They offer a complete counter-narrative to what we usually hear today. Usually the story now is, poor Kristen, she was young, the media was mean. These guys are saying, hold on a minute, let's look at the facts.
And it's a dense stack of arguments. I mean, they touch on everything from the definition of slut-shaming to, evolutionary psychology theories about why some women never recover from their first big love.
So buckle up. We are going to dissect the affair, the apology that changed everything, the bizarre involvement of Donald Trump.
Oh, that part is wild.
And finally, this theory called the alpha widow, which honestly blew my mind a little bit.
It's heavy stuff masked as pop culture.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this.
To really understand the weight of this, you cannot look at it with 2024 eyes. You have to transport yourself back to 2012.
2012. The world hadn't ended yet, despite the Mayan calendar.
Right.
Instagram was just becoming a thing. And Twilight. I don't think people who weren't there, who weren't, a certain age at that time, understand. It wasn't just a Moody franchise. It was a religion.
It was. It absolutely was. And at the altar of that religion were Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. They were Bella and Edward. But then they started dating in real life. It was the ultimate marketing coup, but it was also, by all accounts, a genuine romance.
Yeah.
For the fans, the line between fiction and reality had completely dissolved.
Yeah.
They were the fairy tale.
They were the it.
Yeah.
Couple of the decade, no question. And Stewart is young. She's 22. She's the highest paid actress in the world at this point.
Unbelievable.
She takes a role in Snow White and the Huntsman. And the director is Rupert Sanders.
Who is 41 years old.
Right, 41. And, crucially, married. Married with 2 children. And this is the detail that just makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
His wife, Liberty Ross, was actually in the movie.
Oh, God. I forgot.
Yeah. She played Kristen Stewart's mother in the film.
That makes the inciting incident so much worse. So the incident, it's July 2012. The paparazzi catch Stewart and Sanders, and they're just, grabbing coffee.
Not at all.
As the discussion we're analyzing points out, they were making out.
It was brazen. And the photos, if you remember them, they were undeniable. There was no, it's just a bad angle or they're just friends.
No.
It was intimate. It was clear what was happening.
And the way it broke was just nuclear. The photos hit Us Weekly, they hit the internet, and it was everywhere instantly.
Yeah.
The analysis highlights something really sad here. Robert Pattinson likely found out the same way we did, through the tabloid.
Which is a level of humiliation that is just, it's hard to quantify. Imagine the person you are planning to marry, and we'll get to that part later, betrays you, and you find out because it's on the cover of a magazine at the grocery store. It's awful. And the backlash was immediate. Stewart was, to use a modern term, dragged.
Completely.
Fans felt personally betrayed. It was like their best friend had done this. But here is where the analysis gets really interesting. They focus heavily on the apology.
Yeah, this is a critical piece of history.
Yeah.
In the PR world today, if a celebrity gets caught doing something wrong, the statement is usually very vague.
So vague.
I asked for privacy at this time, or, mistakes were made.
Or they blame exhaustion. That's my theory.
Exactly. But Stewart released a statement to People magazine that was shockingly direct. I think it's worth reading the key parts again because the language fascinating.
I have it here. He said, I'm deeply sorry for the hurt and embarrassment I've caused to those close to me and everyone this has affected.
Okay, standard so far.
But then, this momentary indiscretion has jeopardized the most important thing in my life. The person I love and respect the most, Rob. I love him. I love him, I'm so sorry.
Momentary indiscretion.
It's a hell of a phrase.
It is. And the analysis points out that this was an unequivocal admission of guilt. By saying it was a momentary indiscretion that jeopardized the relationship, she was confirming the affair to the world.
Right.
She didn't try to spin it as we were on a break or anything like that. She owned it.
The analysis notes that there was no salvaging it after that. The relationship was effectively dead the moment that statement went public. It confirmed the betrayal.
And that's the baseline. That's the event. But the reason we are talking about this today is because of how that event has been relitigated.
Right. Because if you fast forward to now, or specifically to 2019, the narratives shift.
Completely.
Stewart does an interview with Howard Stern. Now, Stern is the king of getting people to spill their gut. And in this interview, Stewart starts to, well, the analysis argues she starts to rewrite history.
It's a common phenomenon. We see it all the time with celebrities. Enough time passes and they try to reclaim the narrative. They want to be the victim of the story, not the villain.
She told Stern that back in 2012, she was never allowed to just say what happened because she was afraid of looking like an attention seeker.
Which is a little odd.
Which, I don't know, feels a bit revisionist. You released a public statement to People magazine.
It does feel a bit contradictory. But the big bombshell she dropped on Stern was about the physical nature of the affair. She explicitly said regarding Rupert Sanders, "I did not form him."
Okay, so her defense is, we made out in a car and we cuddled in a park, but we didn't have intercourse.
That's the line in the sand she's drawing 7 years later.
And the analysis we're looking at is, let's say, skeptical.
More than skeptical, they are dismissive of the distinction. Their argument is, doesn't matter.
That's the question. If you are Robert Pattinson, does it make you feel better that they only made out? I mean, really.
The analysis argues that if you are a grown man or woman and you see photos of your partner being physically intimate with someone else, the betrayal is already...
Right. The trust is gone.
Exactly. Whether or not it went all the way physically is a distinction that might matter to a lawyer or perhaps to a Catholic school nun, but in the court of relationship, it's cheating, full stop.
It feels like a technicality she's clinging to. I didn't do the worst thing, so I shouldn't have been treated so badly.
Precisely. And that leads directly into her main defense, the one we hear all the time now, which is the slut-shaming argument. She told Stern that the backlash was absurd and labeled it slut. She said, "We lived in a different time then."
Now, I want to pause here, because there is a valid argument that the media in 2012 was incredibly misogynist. I mean, look at how they treated Britney or Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, for sure.
So was the reaction to Kristen Stewart disproportionate because she was a woman?
That is the standard modern take. But the analysis we are deep diving into pushes back on that hard.
How so?
They challenge the definition of the word. They ask, is it slut-shaming to criticize someone for betraying their partner with a married man who has 2 children?
That's a nuance we often miss. Slut-shaming usually means shaming a woman for having a lot of part or enjoying sex or dressing a certain way.
Right. It's shaming female agency and sexuality. But the analysis argues that what Stewart faced wasn't criticism of her sexuality. It was criticism of her integrity. They call it a critical error. They argue that if you cheat, you break the social contract. And when you break the social contract publicly, public scorn isn't shaming, it's a consequence.
So they're saying she's using slut-shaming as a shield to deflect from the fact that she did something morally wrong.
Exactly. It's a way to turn the tables. Instead of, "I messed up," it becomes, "You are all sexist for being mad at me."
She also used the argument that men are celebrated for cheating. She implied that if a guy did what she did, everyone would be high-fiving him.
And this is where the hosts of the analysis really start laughing. Because they ask a very simple question. Who?
Yeah.
Name this man.
Yeah, when you think about it, who gets a high five for cheating on their famous girlfriend with a married woman? Like, where does that happen?
They bring up Rupert Sanders. The man involved in the very same was...
Absolutely not. His career tanked. His wife divorced him. He was looked at as a creep, a predator even.
Exactly. He wasn't on the cover of GQ as Man of the Year. Pariah. They also bring up Bill Clinton, a very powerful man. Was he celebrated for Monica Lewinsky?
No. He was impeached. He was humiliated. His legacy is permanently stained by it.
So the idea that men get a free pass is, well, the analysis argues it's a myth. It's a convenient narrative to claim double standard. But in reality, society generally despises cheaters, regardless of gender.
Especially when children and families are involved.
Especially then.
But there's one defense that sticks for a lot of people, and I admit I've used it myself about
the age defense.
The age defense. She was 22.
She was a child. Her frontal lobe wasn't formed.
Right. We know scientifically that the brain isn't fully developed until I look back at the decisions I made at 22 and I shudder. We cut her some slack.
This is where the analysis takes a very hard line. They are, to quote them, missing me with that nonsense.
Okay, wow. Why? Is it because of her status as a celebrity?
It's a systemic argument. Their point is, if we are going to say that a 22-year-old is biologically incapable of being held accountable for their moral choice, then we need to restructure society.
That's the change the laws argument.
Correct. If your frontal lobe is too mushy to know that sleeping with your married 41-year-old director is wrong, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote. You shouldn't be allowed to sign a contract worth $20 million. You shouldn't be allowed to drive a car.
That is a tough pill to swallow, but logically, it holds water. You can't have the privileges of adulthood, the money, the fame, the agency, but then claim the immunity of childhood when things go wrong.
It's about consistency. And they make a specific point about the film industry. Kristen Stewart had been working since she was a child. At 22, she was a veteran.
Yeah, she wasn't new to this.
Not at all. She was working 16-hour days. She was leading global press tours.
She wasn't a college kid stumbling out of a frat party. She was a corporate entity. She was the CEO of Kristen Stewart, Inc.
Exact. The analysis argues that if you are professional enough to carry a billion-dollar franchise on your back, you are professional enough to know the difference right and wrong. You don't get to play the "I'm just a silly little girl" card when you are a
scathing, but it cuts through the noise. They feel that pop culture has rewritten this story to make her a victim of circumstance rather than a powerful woman who made a bad choice.
And they believe that true empowerment comes from owning, not blaming your age or your gender or...
Okay, so we've covered the serious stuff, the ethics, the apology, the revisionist history. But we cannot do a deep dive on this scandal without talking about the most surreal aspect of it all.
I know exactly where you are going. And frankly, if this didn't happen in real life, you wouldn't believe it in a script. It's just too on the...
Here's where it gets really interesting. Enter Donald Trump.
The year is 2012. Donald Trump is not running for president. He is the host of The Apprentice. And apparently, he is also the world's biggest Twilight fan.
Or at least the world's biggest Robert Pattinson defender.
Yeah.
The analysis spends a good chunk of time just marveling at this.
As they should.
Donald Trump posted a series of tweets giving relationship advice to Robert Pattinson.
It really is a fever dream. The analysis finds these tweets hilarious, but also sort of relatable. In a weird way. They say, I really relate to Donald Trump on this.
I have to read them. I just have to.
Yeah.
Because the phrasing is so specific, so unique.
Please do.
Tweet number 1. Robert Pattinson should not take back Kristen Stewart. She cheated on him like a dog and will do it again.
Cheated on him like a dog.
What does that even mean?
That's the thing. The analysis points out the absurdity. Dogs are loyal. That's their whole thing. That's the defining characteristic of a dog.
Right. Cheated on him like a cat might make more sense, or like a weasel. But cheated on him like a dog is just pure chaotic energy.
It's incredible.
But you know what I mean. It's visceral. Then he follows up with, everyone knows I am right that Robert Pattinson should dump Kristen Stewart.
He's seeking consensus. He's polling the electorate on a celebrity breakup. It's market research.
And then, the kicker, he tweeted, if you saw the Miss Universe girls, you would reconsider.
Of course. Of course he plugs his own beauty pageant. It's amazing brand synergy.
But let's look at this deeper for a second. The analysis laughs at it, but what does it actually say about that moment in time?
Well, yeah.
You have a billionaire real estate mogul engaging in what we now call a parasocial relationship.
It's the blurring of the line. Trump was acting like a fan on a message board. He felt he had a stake in this relationship. He was personally invested.
Yeah.
And the analysis notes that Trump actually felt vindicated later. He tweeted, Robert, I'm getting a lot of heat for saying you should dump Kristen, but I'm right. He's doubling down.
It signals the moment where celebrity culture became the universal language. Even the elites were consuming it and having these strong public opinions about it.
And Trump, in his own way, was enforcing the social norm. He was saying, she broke the rules, she must be punished, dump her.
And honestly, the analysis agrees with him. They say he was right. They think Pattinson should have dumped her. So in a weird way, Trump was the voice of the common morality play.
Which is a terrifying and hilarious thought.
It's both. It's both. But okay, let's pivot. We've had our laugh at the tweets. Now we need to go to the dark side.
Uh-oh.
Because the analysis suggests that this scandal didn't just end a relationship. They argue it broke Kristen Stewart's mind.
This is where we get into the red pill or manosphere terminology that the analysis... They introduce a concept called the alpha widow.
Alpha widow. It sounds like a Marvel character.
It does.
But it's actually an evolutionary psychology theory, right?
It is. And we need to define this clearly so you, the listener, understand the argument they're making. The theory posits that women have a biological drive to hypergamy, to pair with the highest status male they can find.
Okay, the best of the best.
The alpha widow concept is what happens when a woman secures a high status male, an alpha, and then loses him, specifically because she messed it up.
So it's her fault.
Crucially, yes. The theory says that she becomes widowed to that memory. She can never truly respect or love another man again because no one compares to the one she lost.
So every future partner is a downgrade.
Exact. And because she knows she is the reason she lost the alpha, it creates a permanent state of regret and self-sabotage. It haunts her.
And the analysis applies this directly to Kristen Stewart. They argue that Robert Pattinson was her alpha.
She was.
He was beautiful, famous, adored by millions. He was the peak.
And she admitted he was her first love. She told Stern she thought she was going to marry him. This wasn't just some fling to her.
And then she, in the words of the analysis, effed it up. She blew it all up for a momentary indiscretion with a married director.
The argument is that this broke her. That the guilt and the realization that she destroyed her own fairy tale warped her psyche.
They compare her to Selena Gomez.
Yeah, they suggest Selena Gomez is another example of this. Her canon boyfriend was Justin Bieber.
Right.
And the analysis suggests that despite all her success, Selena is still defined by that relationship and her inability to move past.
It's the idea of the phantom. The ghost that haunts every room you walk into for the rest of your life.
And to contrast this, to show another past, they bring up a really surprising name. JoJo Siwa.
Wait, JoJo Siwa, the girl with the bows, the dancer? I'm not following.
Well, the girl who is now rebranding as Jo.
Right, okay. How does she fit in?
The analysis uses Siwa as a foil to Stewart. They point out that Siwa, despite her chaotic public persona right now, has recently been talking about wanting a traditional family.
Oh.
She talks about wanting an army of IVF babies. She's dressing more femininely.
So they see Siwa as moving toward tradition, toward structure, family.
Correct. They see Siwa as someone trying to build a family unit, whereas they see Kristen Stewart as someone who is running away from it.
And this leads to the harshest part of the analysis. I think this is where they're the most critical.
Yeah.
The uglification argument.
Yeah, this is tough. The analysis looks at Kristen Stewart today, her fashion, her hair, her whole aesthetic, and they call it an uglified version.
I mean, she has a very distinct style now. It's grunge, it's punk, it's androgynous. A lot of people think it's cool. It's high fashion.
It is, but the analysis sees it through the lens of trauma. They argue that she is intentionally rejecting beautiful aesthetic, and they ask why.
What's their answer?
Their theory is that it is a defense mechanism, a feminist response trauma of 2012.
Okay, break that down.
The logic goes like this. When I was beautiful, when I was the perfect Bella Swan, I was consumed by the public, I was scrutinized, and then I was destroyed. So to protect myself, I will destroy that version of me first.
Wow. So by making herself less attractive to the male gaze, she is taking back.
Or she is punishing herself. The analysis says it's an injustice. They say, and this is a direct quote, she is a beautiful woman, and you at least owe it to yourself to be. They seem to mourn the loss of the glamorous Kristen.
It connects back to her sexuality, too. She identifies as queer now. She's spoken about the fluidity of her attraction.
The analysis touches on this. They note she dislikes strict labels, like lesbian or heterosexual, but they frame this fluidity not as liberation, but as unmooring. They suggest she's drifting without an anchor.
They mention her career choices, too. They bring up a lesbian boxing movie she did.
Love Lies Bleeding.
Right. And the Charlie's Angels reboot. The analysis points out these films flop. They say she is 0 for 2 in her attempts to act in these new identities.
The underlying sentiment is that the alpha widow trauma caused her to deconstruct her entire life. Look, her sexuality, her career, because she couldn't face the reality of what.
That is incredibly dark. It frames her entire adult life not as a journey of self-discovery, but as a long, slow reaction to a mistake she made when she was 22.
It is a dark theory. And look, it assumes that a woman's primary value or happiness is tied to that alpha part. A lot of people agree with that.
For sure.
But even if you disagree with the evolutionary psychology of it, you have to admit the timeline is compelling. The scandal happened, she changed. Fundamental.
So what does this all mean? We've looked at the cheating, the slut-shaming defense, the Trump tweets, and this heavy psychological theory. Where do we land?
It brings us back to the question of accountability and consequence. We tend to think of celebrity scandals as these disposable entertainment moments. Assume them, we tweet, we move on.
But the people involved don't.
I can't. No. The analysis suggests that for Kristen Stewart, the shame of 2012 became a foundational element of her personality. It's like a scar tissue that grew over the wound, and now it dictates how she...
It raises a really provocative question for us as listeners. We demand accountability. We want the apology. We want the momentary indiscretion statement. But does that demand for total accountability actually prevent people from healing? Does it lock them in that moment forever?
Or, to flip it, are some betrayals just too big to fix? The alpha widow theory suggests that there are formative breakups that you simply don't recover from, that you can be ruined for future relationships because you know what you had.
And perhaps the bigger question is why we are still so obsessed. Why did this analysis video get made in 2024? Why are we talking about it? Why do we care so much?
Because it triggers our own fears. We all fear messing up. We all fear losing the best thing we ever had. And we all fear public judgment. Kristen Stewart is just the avatar for those.
And maybe, just maybe, we are all a little bit like Donald Trump, sitting on our golden toilet, tweeting our judgments into the void, hoping that if we judge them hard enough, we won't make the same mistakes.
Speak for yourself on the golden toilet. But yes, it's a cautionary tale that...
Well, on that note, we are going to leave you to ponder your own frontal lobe development and the ghosts of your ex. To the learner listening, thanks for going deep with us.
And try not to tweet anything you'll regret in 12 years.
Good advice. See ya.